Over the years, I received thousands of emails. One of the questions I get all the time is, Robert, I have no idea how to find my life's task. I'm completely at loss how to do this. Please help me. And fortunately now, I have talked about finding your life's task, given specific advice in hundreds of interviews over the years. And here are clips that are going to help you find your way and discover your own life's task, so I don't have to answer each and every one of these emails, which would take me a lifetime, even though I would like to.
The key to everything is actually being strategic with yourself and looking at yourself and being honest with yourself. So if you figure out what your life's task is, if you figure out I was meant to start a business or to write a book or whatever, and it really connects to you, and you have a great love and excitement about it, then when people are being political and they're trying to distract you or they're giving you bad advice, you have the energy to move past it. But if you're filled with doubts and insecurities, if you go, I kind of want to write a book, but maybe I want to start my own restaurant, or maybe I want to write poetry, or maybe I want to be a rock star, it's never going to add up to anything, right? And then when people come up with their bad ideas, or they're political, or they're envious, you'll fall for it. So you have to have a real good, solid sense of who you are, what makes you different, and what you love.
Well, being a human being is not easy as opposed to an animal, because we're born and nobody gives us a direction. Our parents might be a little bit, our college, teachers, etc., mentors, but generally we're on our own. And it's a very, very difficult process. You wake up in the morning and you don't really know what you can do. You could choose 12 different paths. It can be very confusing and very overwhelming. When you find that sense of purpose, when you find what I call your life's task, everything has a direction. Everything has a purpose. Your energy is concentrated. It's not like you're just going down a single narrow pathway. It's not like life becomes boring and it's just about discipline and solving problems. It's actually the most exciting thing that can ever happen to you, because you never have that lost feeling. You wake up in the morning and you go, yeah, this is what I need to accomplish. People come at you with all kinds of distractions and boring and irritating things. You're able to cut it out. It's just the most marvelous piece of internal radar that you can have. So I genuinely wish that everybody can find that kind of internal radar.
You can fake your way when you're in your 20s and 30s because you're young, life's exciting, you can make money, can be sort of a motivating factor. But what happens is you're less and less engaged in your work. You're not connected deeply. You're kind of bored. You're not paying deep attention. You're sort of skating by. And by your late 30s, it starts to catch up with you. And people are coming up who are younger than you, who are handsomer, who are less expensive. They replace you. You're downsized. You're out of a job. And suddenly you don't have the skills to adapt because you didn't really follow something you were meant to follow. Finding those things that when you read online and you find a subject, what your eyes light up at, what you want to explore. It's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It depends on how old you are, where you are in life. It's never too late to make an adjustment or to find who you are. I didn't write the 48 Laws of Power or start writing until I was 36. And up until that moment, I was kind of a lost soul. I was kind of unhappy and I was wandering around. It can take time. As long as you're trying, as long as you're exploring, it'll probably come. But if you're only following what other people are doing, you're in trouble. The people who really get far in life, who really achieve something, it's not that they're so goal-driven. They don't think, I want to become a master, I want to write this great book. They're actually people who enjoy the process of their work. Like, I enjoy putting the book together, researching it, building it. If all I thought about was the end and getting money and attention and being on Barry Kubrick, it wouldn't work. You have to actually literally enjoy the details that are involved in your work. And how do you do that? Well, you choose a career that at least excites you in some way, where you can handle the setbacks, the tedium, the practice, the boring hours. It's inevitable. If you want to be a great violinist, you're not going to be born that way. You have to put in the 10,000, the 20,000 hours. And the more you do it, the more pleasurable it becomes. The more pleasurable it becomes, the harder you practice.
If you spend your 20s trying to learn skill in something that connects to you deeply, then things are going to happen to you by the time you reach 30. You've discovered your life's task. It may not be something so specific. For me, it was writing and words, but I didn't know what to write. I tried novels, I tried journalism, I tried theater, I tried screenwriting. But you know it gives you a direction, and you try and you try and try. And you know that's what you were meant for. That's what you were destined for. You feel connected to it. You feel a love for it. And so when it comes time to do the tedious stuff, you're able to do it because you know in the end it'll pay rewards. You'll get better and better at it. And the connection is so deep that to not do it would be miserable.
Psychologist Abraham Maslow, who studied a lot of children, for instance, he said that children, they have what he calls impulse voices. And these are voices that say, I like this, I don't like that. They're very clear. They know what they like and what they don't like. Everyone had that because it's the nature of being an infant in this world, right? Because it's natural. It's a voice that's naturally inside all of us. And then as you get older, you start listening to Mr. Harbinger and Mrs. Harbinger telling you, don't do this, do this. You know, this is what you should behave like this, don't behave like that. And slowly you go through a process where you're not hearing it anymore. You're hearing what teachers tell you. You're hearing what parents tell you. You're hearing what peers are telling you about what's cool, what's not cool. I'm talking about like your career, what you were meant to do. And then you arrive, you're 18, 19 years old, and you haven't a clue because you can't hear that voice anymore. And you're going to try this, that, the other, not based on things that are deep inside of you, but based on what other people have told you you should do or what they think is cool.
The amount of motivation you feel, the emotional connection you have to what you're studying or doing, that is something within your control. That is something you can choose to take. You're going to find people giving you all kinds of great advice about your careers, about where you should go for your MBA, et cetera. But if there's one piece of advice that I think is more important than that, it is this idea of following these natural inclinations and creating your own career path and finding a way to engage the deepest motivating parts of your psyche. You've got to find out what makes you unique, what it is that you love, that's completely who you are, that is like your potential when you were born, that thing that really nobody else can do. It's a process. It's not going to something that's going to, a light bulb goes on in your mind. But there are indications of it in your childhood when you were 16 or 17, things that you love that connect to you in a very deep emotional way. It's not just suddenly quitting your job and going off and writing poetry or playing the guitar. We all have to make a living. We have to be practical. But there are ways for adjusting your life's path so that it matches something that excites you. If you have no connection to who you are and what makes what you really love, you're going to hit that wall at 35 and life isn't going to be pretty.
There's a book I recommend for everybody. It's Howard Gardner's 5 Frames of Mind. It's helped me immensely. The idea is he talks about 5 forms of intelligence. Our problem is we think of intelligence as mostly intellectual, but there are many forms of intelligence. There's the intelligence that has to do with words. There's abstract intelligence that has to do with patterns and mathematics. There's kinetic intelligence that has to do with the body. There's social intelligence. He has 5 of them. And the idea is your brain naturally veers towards one of them. It can veer towards 2 of them, that happens, but generally one of them kind of dominates. And it's like a grain in your brain that's going in a certain direction. You want to go with that grain because that's where your power will lie. So when you're young, if you go back and think about when you were 4 or 5, you can maybe get a picture of some kind of direction or voice inside of you that was impelling you towards this.
Your life's task, as I call it, is to return to those inclinations and to that uniqueness that marked each and every one of you at birth. At whatever age you find yourself, you must reflect back upon those earliest inclinations. You must look at those subjects in the present that continue to spark that childlike, intense curiosity in you. And you must look at those subjects and activities that you've been forced to do over the past few years that repel you, that have no emotional resonance. Based on these reflections, you determine a direction you must take: writing or music, or a particular branch of science, or a form of business or public service.